Say streaming on Facebook. There we go.
Live on Facebook and recording.
Okay.
I think she meant we can go.
All right, we're good to go. Happy Thursday, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Those that are online or might see this later on. Just quick introduction, real quick. My name is Mark Owens, and
I'm Jimmy Sheehan. Welcome to the Kitchen Party Podcast.
Yeah, and quick background on us. We were a long time ago. We had a stint on a couple of different Irish radio shows in Cleveland. Namely, the Kitchen Party was the one we had a lot of success with. And then we figured this last few months kind of get the gang back together. Podcast seemed to be the way to go these days. And then obviously the world changed a few weeks ago or a few months ago.
Immensely.
And we put some things on hold, but we figured it's time to get things back going here and kind of kick off with what we hope to be a regular type series in the Cleveland area for Irish organizations, bars, and the kind of musicians and the like. So,
and we got two of the finalists with us today.
And that's where Jimmy and I were talking a couple of weeks ago about who should we have on this first. We were talking about the situation with COVID-19, and right away Brendan Ring from Nighttown and Declan Synott from Parnell came to mind. They were two of the first two to kind of take leadership in this whole thing and close their establishments down, unfortunately. And so we figured we'd talk a little bit about that, and then hopefully reminisce a little bit about some other good memories of being a bar owner and that kind of stuff. So kind of very informal discussion here, and kind of maybe start with you, Brendan, on the
first of all, Brendan.
Sorry,
Brendan.
Yeah.
You're healthy. Everybody in your family's healthy.
Yeah, everyone's healthy. Yeah.
Very good. Declan, everybody.
I hope the same for you. Yeah.
Yep. So we're all in good shape. Declan, everybody's healthy with you.
Well, I have an aunt that just recovered from COVID in Ireland. She was in a nursing home and she was 84. So statistics really didn't play very well for her, but she recovered. So yeah, everyone is well.
God bless her.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, gentlemen, let's kick it off. So you guys were the forefront of shutting down when this COVID, and you got in front of it. So how did it really affect, obviously shutting down your business, that's your life. And, what's it been like for you guys?
Well, Brendan, you go first. You took the leadership on that. So.
Well, you know what? I spent a lot of time in New York in my life and worked there for 12 years before I came out to Cleveland. Had a little bar out there, worked in Manhattan. But one of my heroes always was a guy named Danny Meyer. And I had been watching Danny Meyer. He's the guy who started Shake Shack, the Union Square Cafe, lots of other restaurants in New York. I've been watching him, and I always thought he was the genius of the restaurant business. And when I saw Danny Meyer start to shut down, I said, I don't need any more than to know that. And on top of that, leading into St. Patrick's Day, which was only 4 or 5 days hence, we were going to have 1,000 people at Nighttown over the course of the day, and something was just nagging me about it. And I called Alec from the Barleycorn, and I said, what do you think? And he was like, everyone else is cancelling us in or around St. Patrick's Day. And I was driving up Martin Luther King Drive when I had that conversation with Alex, which was, in the morning time. And I went into Nighttown, and I stood inside in the music room, and I thought about what it looks like on St. Patrick's Day at Nighttown. And you know what? The decision was actually pretty easy then. It wasn't easy from a financial standpoint, but I did not want to have in my conscience, particularly a lot of my customers at Nighttown are a little bit older, jammed in like sardines like we typically would do, and then something would come out of it that people got sick and people were, that was the day they pinpointed, and that's the day I decided, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So I decided, I just announced to the world that we're going to close on Sunday, March 15th at 6 o'clock. And even, my staff were second guessing me. My wife was second guessing me. They were like, why are you doing that? Are you crazy? We're going to lose St. Patrick's Day. And as luck would have it, the wine announced at 3 o'clock that day that we're closing that night. So, knock on wood. But yeah, that was kind of how I got to where I went to.
It was funny, Brendan, when you said the feedback after I talked to you a couple of times that week. And I was like mulling on the decision. And of course, it's in Cedar, it's my busiest day. Downtown, it can be my busiest day because of, shows and stuff. But I remember when I got a hold of all my staff and let them know, hey, I'm making this decision because this is the right decision, because I was tracking what was going on in Europe, what was going on in Italy, conversations with you and other people. Every one of my staff said, thank you.
Yeah.
I could not believe it. They all looked at me and they're like, you know what? We understand how hard that decision was to make for you financially, but I just, in good conscience for my staff and the customers, because St. Patrick's Day is like, we say we control the crowd. Well, we don't control the crowd. They control us, to be honest.
We heard them in. That's it.
Yeah, we heard them in because, we're people want to be in our bars on St. Patrick's Day and other days of the year, but especially that day. So you're dealing with people that we don't know who they are. 362 days out of the year, we know who's coming into our bars.
Exactly.
That day, we've no idea. So it was just the right thing to do. And I took the lead from Brendan, but in my own mind, I was like, I couldn't open self in good conscience,
Yeah. That's interesting you say about your staff saying, how hard it was for you financially, for both of you. But obviously, they're the ones that are suffering right away. They're immediately impacted by it with lack of an income. Right. So it's got to be, it was tough on both fronts for you as the owners, but also your, numerous staff that I know you guys employ across on the east side. So,
well, it's a trickle
from the top down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trickle down effect, But hopefully, we'll get through all this, So.
Yeah. Well, now that we got that, we did get some good news from our Governor DeWine today that the 12th, you guys will be able to open outside, and then the 21st, the week after, you can go to in-service dining.
Sorry, Jim. 15th, we can open outside, yeah.
Jimmy's thirsty. That's why he's putting the dates ahead. He wants to get in sooner. Yeah, I'm with him there.
So, what are your guys' plans for rolling this out?
Well, I suppose I answer this because I have an outside. I have 3 outsides. At Nighttown, we have probably one of the largest outside complexes on the east side. However, that being said, I have no intention of opening the 15th. I will. Again, you're the first to close. I will not be the first to open. Mm-hmm. This has to be carefully thought out. I would imagine I'll probably open mid-June sometime, because there's a lot of logistics that are going to go into reopen. You know what? Closing was the easy part. Mm-hmm. Opening is going to be much more difficult.
And what a lot of people aren't considering also is the consumer confidence.
Correct.
Just because your doors are open doesn't mean that your customers feel comfortable coming out yet either. So I that's a wise move on your part. I mean, and it's financially, it still hurts.
Yeah.
But
it costs more. It costs less money to stay closed if you're not going to do any business.
Right.
So,
correct.
And also, in good conscience, again, is what Brendan's saying is just because we're being told that we can open, we weren't told to close. You know what I mean? It's like, just because we're being told, is it the right thing to do? Yeah. I personally want to analyze what happens with other people before I
do
turn around.
Right.
Yeah.
See if there's a spike because of place opening.
Well, there is going to be a spike.
Right. And we all kind of gathered that, but
yeah. So, and the issue is too, there's complacency. People get excited again, being outside, being in a bar, being in a restaurant, and it's very easy to let your guard down and, forget that one day to wash your hands, or you shake hands with someone in a restaurant, or a server forgets to stand their distance, and we all be back at square one again with this curve thing. So,
and the onus is being definitely put on the owners, because they're not saying 50% capacity or 75% capacity. Yeah. There's as long as you can abide by that 6 feet rule, you can put as many. You know what I mean? So the onus is back on us again.
Yeah,
from the president to the governor to us, you know what I mean?
If you look at the Ireland last Friday announced their plan for opening up again throughout the next 3 to 4 months, and bars are on the very end of that list. They're not till August, right?
August, yeah.
And you can only have table service only, and no live music in the bar at the time. so it's interesting to see different plans in different countries and how they're playing out. But the Irish model is obviously very, very conservative.
But to know this though, how many sing-songs are going to happen when they do open because they won't have live music?
Well, hopefully you're not singing, as I've heard you sing before. So
You won't be asked.
That's okay.
only kidding. He's actually a good singer. So
I think that at the bar counter itself, we can't really open because you can't. All right, okay. So either Declan's bar or one of my 3 bars, so basically I can have 6 people. Sorry, I can have 3 people at each bar. Really.
Right.
And what I'm going to put a bartender at each of those 3 bars. I think probably what I was planning tonight when I heard that, I was very upset by that today, by the way. That was, I know, Declan, if you agree with me or not, but I came away, I was sitting here in my bedroom watching that, and I came away, I was saying to my wife, give me a Jameson, because this is not helping me at all. This is not good. And whoever that woman was that represents us, give me a break. Jesus Christ, did you listen to her?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an awful spokesperson for what we'll have to do next.
It was very,
Huh?
Who was that? I was working today, so I didn't see it.
She's a restaurant owner somewhere down in Central Ohio.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I got nothing. I said, oh, okay, well, I really don't know what I'm allowed to do. And then I went on the website after the thing. I'm kind of seeing, look, the bottom line is that 6 feet apart. That's the bottom line. And and you can say, well, we're not going to put numbers or percentages on. I did it very quickly tonight, and to me, I think based on what they say, I'm taking down from 100% to 40% seating is roughly where I see it.
Right.
40%. Well, I cannot make money at 40%. I just can't do it.
Exactly.
Period.
And yeah.
See, I'm in a different situation, Brendan. As you know, I can break even at 40%. I can make a little bit of money, but I calculated both my places, and it came in around 40 to 45% of seating. You're right. So, they're not telling us that. They're leaving it up to us to make. You know what I mean? Which that's what I couldn't understand about. In other places, they're saying only 25% of occupancy, or 50% of occupancy, or 75% of occupancy. Basically, they just said, there you go, open up.
Well, you know where that's going, right? You know how that's going to be.
I know, and that's that. There's a lot of bar and restaurant owners out there that are just going to go, okay, here we go.
Yeah, and they're going to be elbow to elbow like they normally are, and it's going to spike this whole thing. And I get it. Being a former bar owner myself, some people are desperate. Some people don't have the capital to stay closed, or the means to stay closed. They're starving.
I mean, is there a fear here? And I assume there is, that when this all, in the next few months, how many bars won't even reopen? Like, they can't even afford to reopen. Is that a real possibility that there's going to be some bars just can't?
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking 30 over 30%, I would guess.
A lot of bar owners, restaurants owners, and Jimmy, you were in the business, Brendan, they run 2 weeks to a month.
Right.
On their cash flow.
Right. And St. Patrick's Day is a big boost. It carries us through, because we all know the summertime, you'll have your good nights, but for the most part, when the weather's nice, people are outside. St. Patrick's Day carries you through the summer. Well,
it pays your tax too.
Right.
And don't forget about that. Taxes coming too. And so there's a lot of people that are going to be struggling.
Right.
And that's the fear. That's the fear that I have, is this reopening too quick. The consumer confidence is already down. Mm-hmm. What happens if we get this spike and they turn around and go, oh, we made a mistake, let's close again?
I mean, and look, I'm sorry, there's going to be a spike. It's not a question of if, it's when and how big it's going to be. You cannot throw all listen, this is like being in the First World War. You're in the trenches, right? And you said, okay, let's just go out of the trenches because the Germans have stopped shooting. Well, they haven't stopped shooting. The virus keeps shooting. And so if we all come out of the trench at the same time, we're all going to get mowed down at the same time. That's my big worry. And Jimmy, to your comments, there are some of us that have been around longer than others. Some of us maybe are financially a bit more, in better shape than say others. However, any good businessman will tell you, I'm not going to open up and stay open if I'm bleeding money. Doesn't matter how much money I have in the bank. I'm not here to not make a buck. That's why we're in business.
Exactly.
So, I open up and I'm bleeding money every month, but I don't know how long I'm going to want to do that.
Right.
I didn't sign up for that.
And the thing is, it's not about the amount of revenue or gross sales you do per year. It's all about percentages of the business. It's not about the cash. It's about cash flow, but it's about percentage cash flow. So just because Brendan has Nighttown and I have Parnell's, it's about percentage of cash flow that'll keep you going.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether it's 10 grand or 500 grand, it doesn't make a difference. If you have the percentage to do it, you might get through it.
So speaking of cash flows and whatnot, so I'm not sure you guys are able to speak on this. I know, Brendan, in the media recently, there was some of the coverage of the class action lawsuit on behalf of the bars. Is that something you guys are able to maybe talk a little about and how that's going, or kind of what your thoughts are on that?
Well, Mark, I'll tell you, here's what ended up happening with this lawsuit. Thankfully, over the years at Nighttown, I've gotten to know a lot of pretty sharp people, and one of them had called me a couple of weeks ago from Wiseman Kennedy, Eric Kennedy. He said to me, send me over your policy if you're insured by the Cincinnati insurance company. And I'm like, yeah, my broker already told me I don't have a hope. And Eric said, just send me it over. Just trust me on this. I sent it over, and Eric called me back and he said, he said, it must be the look of the Irish. So it turns out that the Cincinnati insurance company did not have a virus exclusion clause in their policies. About 85% of insurance companies in the country have these virus exclusion clauses, and for some God-known reason, Cincinnati did not. And so with that knowledge, Eric is the guy who has sued. Eric had a $1.6 billion settlement last year. Eric said, we have a big case here. So we started this class action clause, and I put it out there, and it turns out people are, like the Social Room in Cleveland Heights called me this morning, Brothers Lounge called me. They have Cincinnati, and Cincinnati, they're backed up by Lloyd's of London, and according to where Eric is a very, very sharp lawyer. Eric says there'll be a payday here if you're insured by Cincinnati. And so, fingers crossed. Yeah. Although one friend of mine today said to me, who's the guy who initially financed me at Nighttown, he's 82. He said, I'll be up in heaven looking down at you, drawing your first Social Security check when you get your first check from Cincinnati. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And I'm 8 years away from Social Security. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that it comes down to things like that where you have to read between the lines. And it seems like Eric's a lawyer that you want to have as a friend, that's for sure. So
oh, yeah.
He's not one to piss off. But, I mean, good luck with that. I mean, obviously, as you say, that money will be a long time coming before you even see it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more the principle of them holding back and to something you're paying for and you're entitled to.
Well, with my insurance companies, I don't have Cincinnati. I'm not as lucky as Brandon, even though I'm Irish. But I filed claims on both the bars, even though I had them the exclusion of bacteria and virus on mine. I still filed claims 3 weeks ago. You have to file.
Absolutely.
The more people that, well, not even that, but the more people that file puts more pressure on these insurance companies for stuff that we paid for over. With me, it's been 23 years in business paying insurance policies. And now that we need the fuckers, excuse my language.
It's all right.
They turn around and they just go, no, exclude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the people that don't have the cash flow and do need that in the bar business, they're the ones that are not going to make it through. Do you know what I mean? Right. So.
And Brendan, when you a lot of bars and restaurants are doing to-go food and stuff right now, and there's drive up and pick up, and you were pretty adamant about you're closed and that's it. There's no in betweens. Talk about it. That was obviously a tough decision as well, as there was an opportunity to maybe make some money in the meantime, right, with curbside service, that kind of stuff. But what was your thoughts on that?
Well, ironically, we actually, prior to all this, we have a really healthy takeout business with the University Circle, and we do actually do a lot of takeout business. But when we closed down, I could not set up my kitchen in such a way that it would be safe for the people working there and the food going out, that I could actually say, all right, we're good, no problem. We've had 7 weeks to think about it. We're lucky in the sense that we have 2 kitchens. So I have a plan for reopening. We'll probably reopen, as I said, in the middle of June. And we will be doing a huge amount of takeout, and we will spread out the tables. I'm not going to do the plexiglass partitions, but Nighttown's big enough that I'm going to use my media pitch is going to be, we're going to give you 8 feet between the tables. We're not going to give you 6, we're going to give you 8. And that's going to be how I open up, and we'll do takeout then, but only when I'm ready to do it. And I'll be ready to do it by the middle of June. But, on that subject, I told a few of my managers there last week, I applied for the PPP program, right? And the PPP program gives you 2.5 months of your payroll. Mm-hmm. And my payroll is about 50 grand a month. So I'm like, all right, okay, I got 125,000 that I can make work. But what I didn't realize was in the PPP program, they take into account the waiters' tips as well towards salary. And because my crowd do fairly well, we applied for, and they dropped yesterday into our bank account $300,000. So right. $300,000, but I have to spend it between the 1st of July and I think there's 30 days in August, and the 30th of August. No, I'm not going to be able to spend. I have to spend 75% of that in payroll and 25% in utilities and rent. I'll certainly be able to do the rent and utilities portion of it. I won't be able to spend all of the salary portion of it, but I'll make sure I spend a good portion of it. I'll put it like that. And that is the way that I definitely will speak to his situation. That's the way in which I can reopen Nighttown. And if I didn't have that, I'm not sure I would, to be honest with you.
Right.
I got the PPP for my downtown location. I actually got something like $40,000 dropped into my account the day after that they cleared it on. And the thing is, I got that dropped into my account on the 20th of April, Brandon. So the ticker started on the 20th of April. You have 2.5 months from the date that it drops into your account to spend.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
It's really? 2.5 months from the date.
Oh, wow, dropped. Okay.
Yeah. So I actually probably am not going to be able to use it for that, but I'm using it for cash flow because it's a 1% loan over a 24-month period anyway.
Yeah.
So if I need an extra 20 grand in July to keep me going, I have it in my account. That's the way I'm looking at it. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you told me that. I thought I could see. Here you go. I thought I could start it on the 15th of June, but you're telling me no.
No.
When you get the money,
it's the minute you get that money, the ticker starts. They don't tell you that either.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I guess I'm paying myself starting tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that PP.
This is the weird. None of us have ever been through this, anything like this in our lifetime. So this is all.
The thing about the PPP program. Well, I've talked to a couple of guys. Jason worked from Butcher the Brewer. We normally talk nearly every day, and Tremont Tap House. We're both back and forth going, all this is to keep people off unemployment and put the onus back on the owner again.
Yeah.
Because if we don't use that 75% on payroll, we own near enough the whole thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask Declan a question here. Theoretically, Declan,
right?
Why wouldn't you pay yourself $5,000 a week?
Because the whole deal with the PPP is that people on payroll, you have to keep the exact same amount of people that you had on the payroll when all this started. So I have 7 full-time employees downtown. I had to pay each of them the same amount of money they were making from the minute the money dropped. You can't turn around and pay yourself 10 grand per week. It doesn't
So
go
what,
like that.
what if you pay, for instance, just asking here, because I obviously don't understand this.
Hypothetically.
What if you were to pay, say, 5 of your top earners, right? And you don't take everyone else on. How does that look then down the line?
Oh, once again,
I think you have to keep 100% of your staff.
You have to keep 100%, Brennan. From dishwashers to GMs.
That makes no sense, because I think I read something about there's percentages of you have to give it all back if you don't take anyone on, and then you percentage it down as the amount of people.
Is that the way it is? Okay. Well,
yeah,
maybe that's the way it is.
Obviously I'm not taking back on 55 people tomorrow.
Sure. But it's built to not have people on unemployment. That's what it is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Is it built to have not all people or some people?
Some people.
As many as possible in their mind.
As many as possible, so they don't have to pay the unemployment.
Right. I'm sure they would like to see everybody to keep 100%, but that doesn't make sense, because if you can't open 100%, you can't do it.
Yeah, it's impossible.
I mean, when I go to reopen it, I'll be reopening with 15 people, not 55 people. And if I use that money to pay them their payroll, I'm guessing, but again, I'm just a common sense kind of guy. I'm taking 15% on. Maybe 85% of the loan is not forgivable, but 15 should be forgivable. Something like that. You get me?
I get it. Yeah, prorated on what you take back on. Yeah. So, but I know there's a lot of ins and outs on it. That's for sure.
Yeah, but
I mean, fortunately, in a way, though, the PPE has been a lifesaver for a lot of people. I was on a call today with a few bar owners in Chicago. Billy Lawless, he was the senator for Diaspora. He owns the Gauge and stuff in Chicago. Likewise, they got the PPE, and he said without that, they'd be shutting restaurants down at this point.
Right.
So it's just, it's unfortunate, Declan, but you're right in saying it's a way they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. I mean,
basically, yeah.
They're keeping people off the bread line. They're going to be back on it in a month or two, possibly. So it's a short-term fix to a long-term problem, unfortunately.
Well, and that's another thing, is when people go to reopen, and if the consumer confidence isn't there, and you bring your staff back because you did get PPE and you're trying to play by their rules, but the revenue just isn't there, but you're out buying product like you're going to function like pre-COVID, and the business just isn't there, I can't see a lot of businesses surviving that.
No.
Well, Jimmy, if you go out and start buying product like pre-COVID, you shouldn't be running a bar or restaurant.
Right.
Granted,
you know what I mean, because we're going to be running at maybe 35 to 40%, that.
But there's going to be some people out there who don't have the experience that you gentlemen do, that are kind of green to the business, and they're going to think, okay, let's go full force.
Yeah.
And I fear for those guys, because as you guys know, you put your heart and soul to these businesses. I mean, you don't just, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You live this business. This is your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're pretty much, as a bar owner, you're there 7 days a week. And when you're not there and you go out in public, still recognize you as, oh, there's Declan from Parnell. Oh, there's Brendan from Nighttown. So you're always representing your business, and your business is always with you. And you put so much of your heart and soul into these businesses. And I think a lot of people don't get that. And then your staff, they become your family, and you look out for them. And kudos to you guys who you're looking out and trying to protect them. But it's going to be walking a tightrope to try and get back to the way things were, if they ever do get back to the way they were.
Yeah. Brendan, I was thinking there too, the momentum you had going there with Top of the Hill project for Cleveland Heights there for the last 6-8 months, all the different meetings and hearings and final breaking ground and stuff, and then this hits. I mean, what's the kind of, you have all this stuff at once, and how does that look? And now the projects like that, are they going ahead as planned? And
yeah, so there's good and bad here. So I just had leased the former Zoss Bakery to the construction company to be their site office for the next 2.5 years, right?
Saw the pictures, yeah, they were cleaning it out, so.
Yeah, so that's good, right?
Yep.
That's good. The bad side, on the 13th of March, 2 days before the shutdown, I closed on the Fifth Third Bank on the corner that I bought, that I didn't want to buy, but I bought for parking for all this construction activity we were going to have and all the busy we were going to be. And, you know, took out a fairly substantial loan to buy a fairly important corner in Cleveland Heights that now is, you know, it's useless. That's, yeah, there you go. Good word for it.
I mean, so, yeah, I hate to be blunt, yeah.
No, it's useless. And so it's parking I'm not going to need. And it's taxes and mortgage insurance that I got to pay. And so, but on the positive, you know, the top of the hill will start in 2 weeks' time. We will have some construction workers around the neighborhood. They're not going to make a whole lot of difference. It's not going to be, like you said, it's not going to be like pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. In particular, in our case at Nighttown, I always say there's 3 legs to our business. There's regular dining, there's music, and there's private events. Well, somebody kicked away 2 legs of that stool. And you're asking me now to reopen with 1 leg of the stool that's going to be 30% of what it was. It's fairly easy to do the sums, right?
Right.
I mean, it's fairly easy. You can see where that train's headed.
Declan, during this whole process, you know, you've become a little viral sensation with your 120-second rants.
Yeah, Declan's rants.
Twitter and Facebook. What was the thinking behind that, and kind of where did that come from?
I don't know. Where was I? I think it was on Cedar Hill one day, and I was thinking of just trying to stay out there and do something silly or stupid. Well, it takes 90 seconds to pour a pint of Guinness, not 120 or whatever. 90 seconds to pour a pint of Guinness. So I said to myself, well, why not pour a pint of Guinness and just bullshit, and just record it and throw it on Twitter and Facebook and see if I get any reactions and stuff. You know, just to keep the name of the bars out there. Yeah, and just to let people know that we'll get through it, you know.
I could argue you've been pouring pints and talking bullshit for years, but I won't go there, so.
Hey, I've said that on a few of the rants. That's what I'm good at, so I'm going to continue doing it.
It's been good, and I love this story.
It, right?
I know Liz, your wife, stepped in one day and did the story about someone. I thought it was hilarious. There was something nailed to the wall or screwed to the wall, and they somehow managed to
rip it off the wall. Yeah.
She was making a request to get it back.
Yeah, because we got it for our wedding present.
Okay.
But that goes just like back to what Jimmy was saying about, you know, restaurant and bar owners. It's our family. It's us. It's, you know, this is an extension of us. Yeah. And like when someone takes something off a wall like that, they don't know what it hurts. It does.
Yeah.
Because Brendan has some beautiful stuff on his walls down there. And it's like every piece of that stuff has a story.
Yeah, I have one or two of those pieces here on the wall. Actually, I should probably bring them back.
Yeah. Well, at least you admitted to them.
Yeah, you know. So.
Oh, believe me, yeah, plenty shit stolen off the walls. Believe me.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And just on that note, obviously, you know, the COVID stuff it's as depressing as we get, right? Talking about business dying, and you know, times are hopefully going to change here soon, and we'll get back to we're never going to be back to the good old days. I mean, those days are well behind us. I mean, talk a little bit. Why did you guys even get into the bar? I mean, you're probably rethinking this now. Why the hell am I doing this? But why did you even get into the bar business to start with? I mean, where did that all come from?
Go ahead, Declan.
Well, I started in the bar business when I was 15, and it came from me getting expelled from school or walking out of school before I got expelled. Yes. I remember I got into a little bit of a beef with a French teacher, and he hit me with a ruler on the head, and I decided it was a good idea to clock him. I jumped off the stool and hit him a punch, And I went to the principal's office and said, I'm leaving before you expel me. So I got that out of the way, and then I had to go home. So I went home, and my mom was at home, and I said, Mom, I'm either going to get, I'm expelled, but I left. So I'm not expelled. I left. Let's clarify this. And I said, give me a week to get a job. And she's like, okay. So I got a job in a local hotel, Ashburn House Hotel in Ashburn, County Meath. And I started, I started as a apprentice barman at 14. And that's what I've done ever since. So
the Ashburn Hotel. It's funny. I used to follow Derry City quite a bit, and I think that's the hotel when we were going to Dublin for days out for away matches. I think the Ashburn would have been a place we would have stopped on the way.
Right, and
he probably threw you out of there, Mark.
Yeah.
I probably did.
Maybe the first time, and probably won't be the last, I'm sure. So at least you have that to
You should have thumped him on the head with a ruler.
Yeah.
So that's my story. That's how I got into the bar, restaurant, hotels, and I've worked in Dublin, London, Boston, and now in Cleveland. So there you go.
Well, you've made a name for yourself in Cleveland.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you.
So that's very interesting, Declan. I did not know that about you. Ironically, I didn't have the balls to walk out. I had to actually wait for them to expel me. So ironically, I was expelled too. I was expelled from Carson and CBS 8 weeks before leaving for breaking some windows at the back of the school. But one of the teachers kind of had a liking to me, and he got me into the CBS in Middleton and Cork. So I did my leaving in Middleton, not a spectacular leaving by any means. But I did end up going to Limerick, to the Limerick Institute of Technology, and I was studying quantity surveying there. And I was 3 years in, and I went to New York for the summer of 1984 and got a job working as a concrete laborer on a union construction job at Columbia University, because the union president of a local 18A in Manhattan came from Ballyheigue in North Kerry, and he'd hook up guys like me. So I got into the union. I was going to spend the summer there, and we all had illegal names because we were given union cards from fellas that were back in Ireland or were retired or whatever. My name was Johnny Devine, and he was from Waterford, and I was working on his card, and we cash our checks in Irish bars around the city. Who knew the game? And they take 2% of the check. That was the game. But we used to cash our checks at a bar called Shenanigans on Fulton Street in Manhattan. And I'm in there one day, met the owner's daughter. That was it. That was 35 years ago, this September. We got married very quickly. And I decided I didn't want to be on a construction site. So I got a job working at the Blarney Stone at 6th Avenue and 32nd Street. It was a union, local 6 job. I had grown up in Ireland. My parents had a Wimpy bar, if anyone remembers the Wimpy bars.
Mm-hmm.
My parents had a Wimpy bar and a Mace supermarket, so I was fairly well used to dealing with the public, as it were. And I just kind of fell into bartending, and I bartended in Manhattan for about 7 years. And then I opened up my own place in Woodside, Queens, in the Irish ghetto, called Jocks or Dailies. And I was never happier in 1992 when my wife was given or offered a job in Ohio, and I was able to sell that fucking place because it was like the worst bar you can imagine on Lee Road, with no police around and fights every night. That was my bar. And so I was very, very happy to come to Ohio, and I walked into Nighttown and told the present owner at the time the biggest lies about how fancy my place was in Queens in order to get a job at Nighttown. But sure, it worked out.
Well, typical Irish, man. You don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, right? So
never.
That's why we're all still here.
In fact, Mark, I'll tell you, 2 weeks before I came to Ohio, I was at a wedding at the Huntington Hilton in Long Island, and it was a big old Irish wedding. And I was walking through one of the lobbies, and I saw a bunch of you know, you call it the letterheads of the Huntington Hilton, and I grabbed a bunch of them, and I went home that night and wrote myself a resume about what a great head banquet bartender I was at the Huntington Hilton that I never worked at. Jeez. And I presented that to John Barrett as part of my resume to get a job at Nighttown.
If only the Christian brothers could see you now.
Well,
I'm sure they will.
I'd love to finish that thought up with a story. I was back home in Carsevine about 10 years after I, became the owner of Nighttown, and I was walking on the pier at home. And my old English teacher, Mrs. Godfrey, who was almost 90 years old at the time, and had kind of taught 3 generations in our town of Carsevine. I saw her walking on the pier, and English was my favorite subject, still is. And I walked up and I said, Mrs. Godfrey, do you remember me? And she looked at me. She hadn't seen me in 30 years, And she's like, I don't know. Who are you now? And I said, Brendan Ring. Do you remember me? And she says, hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, yes, Brendan Ring. I do remember you well. What did you ever end up doing with your life? And I thought about it for a second. I said, don't over fucking sell it. So I said, well, Mrs. Godfrey, I ended up owning a bar in America. And her succinct response, and I love it to this day, was, I always knew you'd end up in a saloon. There you have it.
It was meant to be, yeah.
She nailed it in the head, yeah.
Some of the best people I've ever met were in saloons.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so, I mean, through over the years, obviously, you've had, Brendan and Declan both, you had a wide variety of entertainers play at your establishments, and kind of, do any particular bands, or it doesn't have to be Irish, it could be, because I know, Brendan, you have, in terms of jazz, between Chicago and New York, you have like the prestige jazz people coming in. So any musicians or entertainers that stand out as like, if I could get them back again, it'd be one hell of a show type thing?
Well, I've been talking a lot. Let Declan go with that one first, and then I'll talk after it.
Well, I'll give you a story about a band that I met down when I was working at Flannery's. And I was standing behind the bar, and it was like I think it was a Saturday afternoon or something. And this old lad walks in, and I thought I recognized him. I'm like, whatever. And he asked me for a pint of Miller Lite with the deepest Dublin accent. I'm like, so I gave him a pint of Miller Lite, and he on about my business. Anyway, I came back down and turned around. I says, so what are you doing in Cleveland? He's like, I got a gig tomorrow night. I'm like, a gig? And I'm like, where are you playing? He's like, we're playing at Kane Park. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm stupid me. So what's the name of the band? He's like, the Chieftains. So
Patty
I'm
Maloney.
like,
was it Patty Maloney?
It was Patty. So I turned around and I said, so where are you staying tonight? He's like, in the Ritz-Carlton. So I said, we've been talking and bullshit and whatever. So I turned around and I said to him, well, I got another bar. I got a little bar on the east side. You want to come over for a pint? And he's like, grand. So I said, well, stick around for a minute. So he hops in the car. We head over. Anyway, so he turns around and had a few pints over there, drop him back. So he's like, I'm putting you on the list for tomorrow night at Kane Park. I said, Paddy, I'm going to be so busy at the bar, I'm not going to be able to make it up there. He's like, yes, you are. So anyway, we're slammed. It's right before the show is supposed to start. The phone at the bar starts ringing. It's Paddy calling me going, where the fuck are you? You need to get up here, blah, blah, blah. So I drop out. I said, okay. So I went up. So they announced, I don't know if you remember this, Brendan, but they played there. They announced that they were going back to Parnell's.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. They walked in. They had the fiddles going. It was an amazing night. So one of my bartenders' fathers owned a 40-foot yacht. So we got them to go out on the yacht and play on the yacht the next day. We brought them around Lake Erie, and then they flew out Monday night. So that's a very fond memory that I have.
Well, Mark, you have a Patty Maloney story too.
It was that same weekend that he was at Kane Park, and we were driving around. We're by the Jacobs Field one evening, and we see this you can always spot an Irishman walking a mile away, and just that little walk, and this
2
little
steps forward, 3 steps back.
this little Irishman walking by Jacobs Field, lost. I look over, I'm like, that looks like a chieftain, but there's no way that's one of the chieftains. There's wasn't. So we ended up we pull over, and sure enough, it's Paddy. And we ended up giving him a lift back. I think it was to the hotel, actually. I can't remember where we took him to, but he got lost walking around downtown looking for a drink.
That's how I ended up at Flannery's.
And it was Kane Park. And we took him back. He might have been staying over at the Renaissance, actually. That's Flannery's where he went, actually. And he was playing Kane Park that weekend. That was what he was in town for. So he made a hell of an impression in Cleveland that weekend.
Well, I'm about to tell you about an impression he made in Cleveland that is not so great. So when you were telling Declan, when you were telling that story, I said I have to walk out into the living room and grab a photograph for you guys. And I hope I can do this right. If you can see it, it's my sister, me, and Paddy Maloney. If you can see it, can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Did I do it right?
Yeah, that's it. Yes,
Yeah, we can see
it. Right.
All right, let me tell you the story about that photograph. So the chieftains were playing at the Palace Theatre. And my sister Deirdre is best friends with Aideen Maloney, who was Paddy's daughter. And anyway, sure, we went down to the concert and all that kind of stuff. And I went backstage, met with Paddy, we had a great crack and all that. And who are you? What do you do? I have a restaurant here in town, so on and so forth. And so we sit in the audience, and Paddy Maloney goes out on the stage, and he goes, I know about the rest of you. At some point in the concert, he goes, but this restaurant, Nighttown, we're all going up there afterwards, and I might even play a song or two. And I'm sitting in the audience, go, for fuck's sake. I mean, are you kidding me? So I had been given the job of driving Paddy. So I went backstage. We drove up to Nighttown. The place was packed. I mean, to the rafters. And I walked in, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, what are we going to do here? And there was a band playing on the stage. So we sat down at the table, and I said to Paddy, what are you going to play? And I said, I'm not playing anything. I just wanted them all to come back here. And so I was like, all right, fair enough. And to your Declan, I said, where are you staying? And he wasn't staying at the Ritz. He was staying someplace. He was staying at the Wyndham downtown. And he asked me to drive down, and we're driving down. He goes, where can we get a drink? And the only place I could think of was, what's your man's name? On Short Vincent there. What's his name? It's the little Irish bar on Short Vincent.
Oh, Moriarty's.
Moriarty's.
Oh, yeah.
I said, the only chance is that place is open. So I'm trying to circle around. I'm kind of drunk because I can't find my way around. We're in the middle of public square, and Paddy Maloney says to me, stop the car. And I'm like, okay. And so I stopped the car, and the fucker gets out of the car in the middle of public square and takes a piss. And I'm sitting in the driver's seat going, I have avoided a DUI my entire life. I've been acute Kerry Hoare about it. Never caught me, and they should have. And now I got a guy standing next to my car in the middle of public square taking a piss. And he took his piss, and we went to Moriarty's and drank a little bit more, and I dropped him back at the hotel. But when you ask the question, Mark, famous people, right? I've had Stevie Wonder at Nighttown. I've had John Legend at Nighttown. I've had Benny Hill at Nighttown. I've had the president of Slovenia at Nighttown. I've had Mary McAleese at Nighttown, Mary Robinson at Nighttown. But my favorite, and I'm going to go back to the Irish on this one, my favorite one of all of them was Seamus Heaney. And in 2001, Seamus Heaney came to town with the Irish Georgian Society, did a thing downtown, and then they came up to Nighttown for dinner on the patio. And I had that old London taxi that I had at Nighttown at the time, and I was the designated driver. So we had the dinner at Nighttown, and we finished it. I went out and got into the London cab, and I was driving Heaney down to the Ritz-Carlton where he was staying. And on the way down, he's in the back of the car, and like all excited because Seamus Heaney is in my car. And he's like, are you a drinking man at all? And I was like, is that a trick question? And he goes,
is the Pope a Catholic?
He says, well, you didn't, I noticed, because I was sitting at his table with Patience Humphreys and a few of the crowd that were sponsoring it, and he said, I'm sorry, I said, no, I didn't take a drink tonight. I'm driving Seamus Heaney, the Port Laureate, the Nobel Prize winner. I'm not having a drink tonight in case anything goes wrong. And besides, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, the cab was not insured. And so we got to the Ritz-Carlton, and he said, will you come up and have a drink with me at the bar? And I was like, oh, Jesus. And what I was worried about was more the intellectual prowess of this man. What are we going to talk about? You know, like Gaelic football, or what are we going to talk about? And we went up and we sat at the bar in the Ritz-Carlton, and we had a couple of brandies and just talked shit. We didn't talk about anything intellectual, poetry, nothing. Mostly it was about my immigrant journey, what it was like growing up in Kerry. And that's my favorite one.
Wow, and that to me, that one is, you know, obviously Seamus Heaney being a dairyman, and
yeah,
we both went to St. Colum's College. Obviously, his career took a little different direction than mine.
Yeah.
You know, a Nobel Prize in the midst of all that. But that's I hear that story about Seamus Heaney. I mean, we grew up studying Seamus Heaney at St. Colum's College, and that's great to hear that. That's a great.
Seamus Heaney taught my sister English at Carysford College in Dublin. And my sister is now the dean of Mary Immaculate College in Limerick. And Seamus Heaney was her English teacher at Carysford.
Wow.
So it's a small world.
It is a small world.
I want to ask, I know you do a tremendous amount of jazz. And what was it like to meet Tony Bennett? Because I know he's played at your place a couple times. And Tony Bennett, I've always heard, is one of the nicest individuals and one of the most humble men you'd ever want to meet off the stage, as far as what a great performer he is.
No, here's the thing, Jimmy. We could take the cute Kerry Hoover approach to your question, and I could tell you about what a great guy Tony Bennett was, and how we sat down late into the night and had drinks and you know kind of connected and all that. But Tony Bennett never played Nighttown, and I never met him.
Really? So I've been there twice.
No, he's never been there.
Really? Oh, well, no, I got bad information. I apologize.
No, it's okay. But sure, back in Ireland, we would have run with that story. And
that would have been a good one.
Spin a yarn.
Yeah, yeah. No, I never met Tony Bennett. And even, to be honest with you, the night Stevie Wonder played at Nighttown, I was in New York that night, and one of my managers called me and said, oh my God, Stevie Wonder just walked in, he's playing the piano. And I hung up on her because I thought she was kind of giving me, you know. And then 2 days later, I got a phone call from the playing dealer, and they said, can you tell us about what it was like to be at Nighttown when Stevie Wonder walked in? And I said, I can. It was one of the greatest nights of my life. And I was actually in New York, but sure we won't go there. But I won't, Jimmy, I won't lie to you. I lie to the playing dealer.
Not a good story, right?
So I'm not the only bullshitter, right?
No. If bullshit were music, we'd be the whole brass band.
Yeah.
I know, you know, when things do calm down again and things get opened up, I mean, I think it'd be a great idea to get some, you know, music's going to be a kind of a joy for people to get back out and listen to music, but, you know, getting some sessions going, whatever it might be, in both of your establishments. You know, if we can help get the word out on those things, and obviously not pack the place, but
we'd love to do a live remote at both of your places if you'd have us. I mean,
that'd be great.
Help promote you, so we'd be more than happy to do.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I was trying to figure out my music room configuration tonight or today with the new restrictions. I think we can put 50 people in the room. It normally seats 140. I think we put 50 in the room, and basically the plea to the public would be, yeah, you know what, the ticket price is going to be higher. We'll give all the money to the band. But I think we can do it. I mean, I actually think we can do it. Ironically, a few months ago, I after just around St. Patrick's Day, me and Alec from the Barleycorn were talking, and we actually scheduled the Barleycorn for September 17th, halfway to St. Patrick's Day. So it might be a situation where we say to the people, look, pay $30 a head to see these guys and pay them for their talent. They get all the money. Nighttown gets nothing. Mm-hmm. They get it all and pay them that way. In terms of that, I've been doing a thing. and I suppose it might be borderline illegal, but for the last 7 weeks since this crap started, I have been having a group called the Monday Men's Club at Nighttown, where I space out 10 of us on the big patio at Nighttown. We're 10 feet apart. Everything's cool. Somebody brings food and we have a drink and we talk and we bring a few guitars. And I've had Alec and a few other musicians there. And we've been actually having this 12 to 2 or 3, or one day it was 7 o'clock, which did not make my wife happy. But we've been actually sitting down there playing a bit of music and having a bit of crack and reading a bit of poetry and doing all that on the last 7 Mondays.
Well, thanks for the invitation, Brendan. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Declan, no one from the Pale except Alec, and only because he can sing was invited. It was mostly. It was cultures. It was cultures.
I understand.
That's a good answer, Brendan. Way to recover that one very quickly.
Well, we'll get into it a bit more.
He's been around.
Anyway, yeah. So I look. I've been talking to some of the Irish bands like Mossy and Alec. These guys are doing all right, doing their Friday and Saturday night gigs. They're making a few bucks.
Mossy's on a 7-day roll. He's doing a show for 7 days. I think tonight is number 3 or 4 of it. Yeah. But he's been doing. I caught a couple of Mossy shows online, and likewise with Alec and John, I caught theirs. Pat Shepard, I caught his before. He's a local. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, and it's just on the music stuff, just on the call I was on earlier today, it was a lot of the Irish organizations around the Midwest with Ambassador Mulhall and our Consul General Brian O'Brien. One of the big discussions was the local bands that are played at the festivals and stuff, like the Cleveland Festival, the Dublin Irish Festival. Milwaukee's the biggest in the world. There's talk right now of putting together like a virtual Irish festival concert in the next month or so.
Virtual fly.
Yeah, kind of. So there's a lot of ideas up in the air right now about that, but trying again support the musicians with, to your point, Brendan, all the money is going to the bands. This is a lot of these bands, that's their source of income. Like you guys, the bar is your source of income, but to the musicians, that is their only source of income. So, there's a lot of talk how we can help them as well. And
I think when Mark, when like I said, I'm going to take a month to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I will start jazz in Nighttown in July, and I will start Irish music in Nighttown in around the same time. And I'll keep it to 50 people. And the plea will be to the consumer, look, hey, at the end of the day, if you still have a job, and if you're in the same place as you were 8 weeks ago, you can pay $30 to hear a musician and be supporting them and their families. Right. And knowing that they're keeping every penny of the door, that's going to be my take.
Yeah,
right.
That's huge.
Fair play to you.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's the thing, Brendan. It's like there's so much unemployment out there right now. But I was talking to my brother-in-law like 4 weeks ago, and I was like, he's like, how are you guys doing? I'm like, well, I can deal with the shutdown, but the new norm is going to be my issue. See how I deal with what's coming along. And he turned around and he said, look, Dick, he's like, me and Erin, which is his girlfriend, we're working the whole way through this. We're dying to spend money and throw money at you guys.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of people out there that should be well able to support it.
Yeah, in terms of musicians too, I mean, the large concert venues won't be open anytime soon. They're not going to be bringing. No one's going to be going to arenas for bands. So if you have an opportunity, it's almost like an exclusive gig. If it's just, hey, be one of 50 people to see this band live. Right. There's a little exclusivity to it, and you're also helping give back a little bit. So it's going to be an appetite for it. Yep.
Yeah, the thing about musicians is, again, previously in my room, if I could seat 140 people, if I can appeal to 50 people to pay, let's say the ticket price previously was 15 or 20, so pay 30 or 40, there's going to be a percentage of that audience that can afford that. And if I say to them, you're helping these musicians. Look, all of us, I don't know if anyone's gotten takeout or I go to Heinen's. When I go to Heinen's and the guy puts my groceries in the back of my SUV, previously I threw her 5. Lately I've been throwing her 20 because I know, you're doing something to keep us all going. So maybe people will say, maybe I can, I've got a third of the room. but maybe I can double the ticket price, give all the money to the band, make it as clear as crystal that they're getting the money.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, we'll sell a few drinks and we'll sell a few meals, and then everyone's happy.
Yeah,
And
you can also
try. I'm going to try that.
and you can also sell it as an exclusive show, true.
Yeah.
Because there's only 50 people
Yeah.
instead of 150. You
Right.
know?
Exactly.
So yeah, that makes
Well,
sense.
that's great.
I listened to a podcast last night. It was a musician, a Dutch musician. He had a concert with everyone in their cars.
Yeah, I've seen that in the auto drive-in theaters. They're doing that space and putting up a stage, and that's their way of getting live music still out there.
And he said he was very nervous going on stage, and then he got interacting with people, and he said it was a great time, you know?
Yeah.
So
you got all that parking space now, Brendan. Maybe you could do like a drive-in outside. And,
No shit.
I'm telling you, you could do something.
Exactly.
I mean, joking aside, I mean, there could be an opportunity to do something, you know what I mean? So, well, listen, gentlemen, it's I know we've come up on the hour mark here, and just obviously, I was going to say we're all busy doing stuff, and obviously it's a different time where we're not as busy as we used to be. Any final words or any final thoughts, any messages you want to get out there to the people listening or watching later on? Or you don't have to.
All right, but hey, we're going to be open within the next month, I would say, at both Parnell's, and I just want to make sure everyone's healthy and my staff and my customers. So it's going to take a couple of weeks to make a decision on when I want to go. Yeah. Because I just want to see what the atmosphere out there is like.
And where would people, if people want to get updates on where or when you're opening up or what your plan is for both of you, where are they going to find that out?
Facebook, Twitter, Parnell's Facebook page, our Twitter account, Parnell's Twitter account. So, and then we'll make a couple announcements too. So,
okay.
Well, we'll do our part to announce for both of you gentlemen, and get it out.
Yeah, we'll. We're having meetings tomorrow. Again, the construction on top of the hill is a big part of our decision to reopen when we reopen, because again, we'll have a couple of hundred construction workers on the site. That allied to what would be regular takeout, and as soon as Monday or Tuesday, I'll be in there taking tables out. I'm going to go. My thing is going to be 8 feet apart. Just everyone needs to have a shtick, right? And if the governor says 6, I'm going with 8. So I'm going to start with my 8. But I'm guessing the middle of June sometime we'll reopen. But look, again, here's the thing. And Declan's in a different situation than I'm in. When you're in the food business and you're paying chefs and cooks and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be down. I think I'm going to be down 70%. And I'll do it for as long as I can. But I didn't spend 30 years doing this to bleed it all out at the end. So we'll do our best. But at the end of the day, the restaurant business is a 10% margin business. And if this is really simple economics here, if we're in a 10%, and if you're really great, and I've been in the really great, and I've been always between the 10 and 15% range. If you take away 80% of my business, it's really fairly simple to read between the lines.
Right. Sure.
So I'll stay hopeful, but I've never been anything but a realist. So we'll see.
And you certainly hit the nail on the head, Brendan. We're very different businesses. My business can run here and yours is way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like cost-wise and everything. I need one person behind my bar. Yeah. And you have all the amount of payroll you have, you can have it at this stage, you know?
Right.
It's tough. So,
yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I wish you both the best in the future and a healthy recovery and a health to your family. And I thank you so much for both of your time and your insight, and most of all, your stories and your friendship. You are friends of the kitchen party, and we will do anything we can to help promote whatever you guys got going on.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jimmy. And in closing, I'd just like to say that yeah, this coronavirus came out of nowhere.
Right.
But in Kerry, where I come from, we have been subjected to Dublin winning the All-Ireland in the last 5 years. So this coronavirus is nothing.
Yeah.
Handle it.
I'm glad I'm a Mead man, because that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, we stopped competing for the All-Ireland a long time ago, so we just didn't think it was fair, you know.
Yeah, we know that. Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me
All right,
on.
guys. Well, thanks very much for your time, and we'll be seeing you guys soon, hopefully. So.
All right,
Take
on
care.
that.
Good luck to
All
you,
right,
gentlemen.
Salam
Thank
alaikum.
you.
Good
All right,
night.
guys. Take care. Thanks.
Bye.